to each other yet.
That's right. As we mentioned before, they will be coming off in groups of 20. One of the things, too, to speed things up is that I was amazed at some of the things aboard ship that the fellows had picked up at low prices in the Mideast. Everything from truck tires to car springs and Persian rugs, of course, were the big thing.
I think the ostrich eggs were about the strangest I saw, and there was a great proliferation of them. I'm not sure what they're going to do with them.
Well, there was a joke running around the ships when they were approaching Gibraltar because they had sent the custom officials over to Gibraltar to clear the ships.
Always good food, always good value, and by IGA, hometown proud in the Maritimes.
As we were mentioning, they sent custom officials over to Gibraltar to clear the ships early, and the joke going around the ships was, I wonder if they have Persian rug sniffing dogs.
Well, I imagine the last few days there was people were holding off on buying things, not knowing how long they were going to be or if they were going to fly home. But that last port visit, when it became evident that they were going to sail home, I imagine there was some heavy bartering going on in the souk.
I don't know if you can see this. We hope to get a picture of me when we see the Protector again. But behind us here, there's an entire flotilla of small craft. Even the Halifax Dartmouth ferry is going across right now. And it's just an incredible sight to see all these small boats. And it's not the type of day you'd really want to be out on the harbor in a boat, because it is very, very chilly. But even the small boat owners in the area have come out. They're, of course, supporting the ships. And as when they left, you can remember there was a whole flotilla of small ships there.
As a matter of fact, Ron, you can see it from there. Some of the ships are being sprayed by the firefighting unit there, who are still celebrating with their hoses. So you got to. Some of the small ships have to run for cover.
Well, I hope they're warm out there.
Now there's the Protector. One of the reasons, Greg, perhaps you could clarify this. Another thing too that should be brought to the attention of viewers. The major roles that were played by these ships in the Persian Gulf is the Protector was one of the few supply ships that could indeed supply the majority of ships of the Navy because of its special equipment.
That's correct. The couplings are different from all different nations. Being a NATO unit, Protector carried or got a hold of the majority of the couplings. And initially, as I stated, we were in the central Persian Gulf, and she was the only oiler there. She was doing 1 to 2 fuelings a day and completed some 170 fuelings in the period leading up to the war of all of the 13 Navy ships there, and was extremely well known and highly regarded as the guy to call on when you needed the gas. And they nicknamed her the Chuck Wagon, as a matter of fact, and again, a great affection going around for the Chuck Wagon and her crew.
We're just expecting in a few moments' time, as soon as the Protector reaches her jetty and is tied up, in about 5 or 10 minutes, we're expecting the commanding officers and the commander of the task group to be piped off the ships. This has got to be the toughest. You can't imagine what it's like. There's a real atmosphere down here on the waterfront with the families. I mean, they're so close right now.
It's the absolute definition of anticipation.
Fellas were saying too that what it's always tough when coming off a long duty like this is that after the first couple of days after the spouse, the at-home spouse has been in control for such a long period of time, and then all of a sudden the other partner comes in, and there's some adjusting to do. There's a lot of adjustment to do on this kind of thing.
I found that's absolutely true, and I found on this one it was longer. It took me about 3 weeks, and it's different. You've been in such tension and in such a high state for so long, just to get back and to wind down and to get back into what we thought we were in reality, but apparently it isn't. Apparently it's here in Canada, and to get back into that. And it was a little tougher this time, but I don't think, the ladies are great and the guys shouldn't have any problems. But there is definitely that adjustment period to go through.
Greg, if you will, you were telling Ron and I just before we went on the air about the Dusty Miller and his staff. And, there's the Prime Minister now at the Terra Nova.
It's going to be a few minutes before the actual welcome there.
Goes on, yeah. I may have to interrupt you, Greg, if it goes on, but you were telling us prior to this about your own schedule and the schedule of the rest of the Dusty Miller's team. Give us a rundown.
Well, because of the intensity and the requirement to complete everything, not only were you standing 12 hours out of 24 on watch, but there was the other work to do as well. And you would work anywhere from 16-hour days up to 20-hour days. There was the occasional 40-hour. And certainly when I moved to the carrier Midway, we were working approximately from 7 in the morning till 3 in the morning, and we were averaging 20-hour days for the whole period of the war. It was just that much administration and work that had to be done, as you can imagine, to manage 131 ships and the logistics and all the strike runs and everything that was happening, and an extremely intense period to go through. And I've been asked many times if it was fun, and it was too much work to be fun, but it sure was interesting.
I would imagine so. And also, as we watch the Governor General now by the Athabascan for the official greeting of the Athabascan, as we mentioned, the Prime Minister is at Terra Nova. The other thing, too, that you must have to contend with is, we got to remember, you're dealing with, what, 11 other nations?
There was 13 different navies.
13 different navies, and each government had its own policy as to what ship could do.
That's correct. The rules of engagement as to what the ship could or could not do, and even more so, the areas that the ships could go were all different. So that when Captain Miller had to pick an escort, he had to pick a specific one to make sure that the guy was A, allowed to do that, and B, he was allowed to go into the area that it was tasked. So it was a real...
Communications must have been a nightmare. Yeah, absolute nightmare. Was it capable to speak to all the different navies? Was the communication system the same, or is that classified? Or
no, well, most of the, again, because we're a NATO Navy, we were able to communicate with most of it. A little bit difficult with the Argentinians, and the Americans helped out there by providing some equipment and that to them. But because the Canadians are used to this and dealing with stand-up foreland, and that was one of the reasons we were picked as that go-between liaison. And like I said, lunches certainly helped, and people got on side, and certainly worked out.
We understand that we're going to be going to the Athabascan in a few moments' time, where, of course, the official welcoming and disembarkation is going to be happening there. But it's just an incredible situation down here. We can see over, I don't know if you can see it, there's Prime Minister Mulrooney and his wife Mila, and of course Defence Minister Bill McKnight.
Defence Minister Bill McKnight there
too. At the Athabascan. But the Protector now is just moving into its jetty, to her jetty there, and it's an amazing sight to see these three ships come home. It seems like yesterday that they left, but of course it was 7 months ago.
That's right. Again, while we're watching the official greetings going on, Greg, get back to that business about communication. Wasn't there also the fact that, again, and I think this is a tribute to pre-planning, if I can put it that way, or the Navy can-do approach, whatever, that the equipment itself was honed for international communication, where most of the other ships were just on a national basis, in other words, to their own ships.
That's correct. We were selected with the Americans as a go-between again. One of the main reasons, and I have to give an absolute bravo Zulu to the support we received from MARCOM both before and during the war, and we were given the equipment that we needed. And as a matter of fact, we were the only people out there that had the completely compatible fit with the Americans, which allowed us total communications. And a lot of this gear was fitted just before we left in that incredible 10 days when we got the ships ready. But it allowed us to go out there and be absolute top-notch at our job and provide the requirements that were needed.
There we see the Prime Minister at the Athabascan.
This is the Terra Nova, and the Prime Minister greeting the ship's company as they're coming off, and also, as we mentioned before, the Minister of Defense, Bill McKnight. Now, this will be the beginning of it. Once this particular ceremony, the Prime Minister applauding the other sailors, the coxswains are coming off now. And once this particular group will be ashore, then they're going to be followed by a cross-section of about 20 members from each of the ship's company, and they in turn will be greeted by the Prime Minister and the rest of the visiting dignitaries. And there's already one of the first of the welcome homes. And I think this is a situation perhaps where we can let the pictures speak for themselves.
believe now that gentlemen, that we've switched venues. We've gone from the Terra Nova over to the Athabascan. Am I correct there in assuming that? That's Governor General Raina Titian.
That's right.
And his wife, and I thought I saw Vice Admiral Robert George there.
Same procedure will go there as well. We were back at the Terra Nova there just a moment. You saw the skipper, the CEO of the Terra. Oh, here's Dusty Miller coming out to be greeted by the Governor General. There's next is the CO of the Athabascan, John Pickford. You know, talking about the two COs, we had on the ATV Evening News the other night, we had Commander Pickford reading from his own personal diary, and we also had the same opportunity as far as the skipper of the Terra Nova. Drew Andrews is concerned, and we were asking them the same question, you know, that we asked you, Greg. What is the most memorable moment when they were thinking about it? And it was funny. For the Athabascan, it was a case of when they went north. They felt they were in the action. As far as the Terra Nova is concerned, was the first time they had to go to action stations, and it was done without a hitch. And here, the crew welcoming home.
Here we see the Protector coming in. You can see it's only a few hundred yards away from us, but you can see the crew have strung messages over the side to loved ones. They'll be tying up in a few moments.
As we say, the pictures speak for themselves, and I think we can let the pictures speak as the crew comes ashore. And at the same token, we're taking long shots of these because we don't want to interfere. This is also a very special and personal moment as well.
I imagine, just as a side note, a lot of loved ones are getting used to seeing their dads and their brothers without beards. Because when they left, they all had beards. You yourself had a beard.
That's correct. 13 years, and it was a rough day when they came off. But we shaved for charity and raised a lot of money. And the people coming back had time to grow theirs back. My wife herself has asked that I leave it the way it is. We're still in negotiation for that one.
We would remind you once again that our live coverage of the return home from the Persian Gulf of the 3 Canadian ships brought to you as a community service by McDonald's and IGA. And quite a return it is. Now we're shooting now this is the Protector directly ahead of us now. Their families their families are now going to, where are we now? We are now allowing the families going on board, I believe, the Terra Nova.
Yeah.
And this is the moment they've been waiting for. As I was mentioning, Commander Andrews of the Terra Nova was saying that one of their first days after getting into the Gulf, he got the alert that unidentified aircraft were on their radar screen, and that's when he had to call the ships to action stations. And he said they closed up, and he said faster than they have ever done before. There wasn't any panic, and he said then he knew that they were ready, and he said he never felt such pride in a ship's company as he did that particular moment.
That's absolutely. We also went on Athabascan when I was there. Same thing. Very, very proud to serve these. This is an absolutely professional group of men and officers, and it was the whole time. It was a pride to be there and to be what we considered, and a lot of other people are now considering the best in the world.
This is what it's all been about. People waiting on the dock here.